everybody, to another episode of On and Off the Field with Derf and Dylan. Hopefully that wasn't too loud and you didn't blow an eardrum out, but Derf, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic now because
Awesome.
I am on vacation.
Yee-hee! Vacation is nice. You said to the 12th earlier, too? Like a long vacation.
Oh, yeah. Much needed.
I would say I'm jealous, but I'm on paternity leave for like 4 weeks, so I'm not that jealous. I just have a baby to take care of. That's all.
Yeah.
So it's far from a vacation. For those wondering, it is July 2nd, 2020. We're officially into the second half of 2020, and the first one was a bumpy road, but let's try and, if the world wants, I put this on Instagram, if the world wants to end, we'll just let it end. But in the meantime, let's try and make the second part of 2020 a little bit better. And let's at least try to be nice to each other,
Yeah.
Let's try and make the most out of the second half of 2020. I think that's a good, fair goal to have moving forward. So if you listen to this on any of our podcasting platforms, make sure you share it, subscribe to it, you follow it, you like it, wherever you're listening to it. You can do all of those things to help us out. And Derf, where can they do those things?
You can, excuse me, you can follow On and Off the Field.
Chancellor Palpatine, you can find those things.
Oh, well, you can find On and Off the Field on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for uncut episodes like this show, our live shows, and other great content. Make sure to head over to onandoffthefield.com to learn more about the show and Dylan and I, as well as where you can find our episodes and the charities that we are involved in. We are currently involved in Feeding America, and the Boys and Girls Club of America is our newest one that we are putting all of our focus on. Also, make sure to rate and review the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts so we know how we are doing and what you like or dislike about the show. Don't just rate it.
That's the important part, yeah. Because we got our first 3-star review today, and it's like, I'm fine. If you want to give us 3 stars, that's your honest opinion. I'm not going to sit here and cry. People get all kinds of different star reviews. But hey, if you're going to leave 3 stars, at least leave a review and kind of at least, let us know, hey, these guys sound like idiots. These guys don't know what they're talking about. Maybe it was Richard, our friend. We talked too bad about the Browns one episode that he listened to. He's like, you know what, 3 stars. They talked bad about my Browns, 3 stars. So whoever it is that gave us 3 stars, just come back, write a review. You don't have to give us your name. We're not going to hunt you down. It's fine. It's fine. We just want to know why we got 3 stars. So sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. Well, 3 stars is kind of like one of those things where, like, do they not listen to the show anymore? Do they only listen to it part of the time? Are they still listening to it? If you are still listening to it, please let us know.
Yeah, I feel like 3 stars is kind of like if they came across it again and they were bored, it's like, let's see if this one got a little better. Let's give it, I'll give it a shot. Right. I feel like that's 3 stars.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think so. All right. Make sure to also head over to the rtfsportsnetwork.com where you can catch On and Off the Field on our live show nights on Tuesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also our new recorded show time is now Fridays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And while you're on the rtfsportsnetwork.com website, make sure to check out all the great blogs that our writers are doing and have written for the network. There's some really great content there, so get reading.
I was really shocked how good some of the content was. I know we just talked about it on our live show, but I've read a couple of them now because I read the first one on Tuesday because someone was trying to prove my point wrong, and all he did was literally throw one of his own RTF blogs at me, and I read it. I was like, wow, that was really good writing. It didn't disprove my point because I'm stubborn, but just the writing itself was very good. And so I read a couple others, and if you really have to go over there, rtfsportsnetwork.com for a lot of great stuff. we're officially starting our On Out the Field Fantasy Football League and Pick'em League. Basically, if you pay in, you'll just be in both leagues. We'll give you links for both.
Yeah.
So we're trying to gauge the money of how we want to do this. We just put a poll up on our group page, OOTF Family, which you have to join if you want to do the On and Off the Field Fantasy Football League, OOTF Family. It's probably linked right on the On and Off the Field Facebook page. You should be able to see it from there. So join that, and you can vote on how much you want the fee to be. But basically, the fee is just going towards charity. We're not pocketing this. We're not going to use this to put towards a nice fancy trophy, which is, it would be nice, but it's unnecessary. What is necessary is helping those in need. So that money will be going towards the Boys and Girls Club of America, which is our current fundraising initiative. So I think right now we have 20, 30, 40, 50, and then like a more or less option. So like an open opinion option. So
yeah,
I think the last time I just looked, let me pull it up again. I just looked before, and we had 2 votes for 50 and 2 votes for 20. So we definitely have a little bit of an opinion. So now it's gone up. So we have 4 votes for 20 and 2 for 50. So we'll see what happens. I'll leave it up for a while, and I'll let it probably run through the weekend, and then we can announce how much we want to do on our live show on Tuesday. What did we say? It's 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, 7 to 8 on Tuesday.
If you don't think dads can get baby brain, well, let me tell you something. There have been several scenarios where I walk into a room and I'm like, what in the world did I come in here for? I know that happens to people sometimes, but this is every day, every time I walk into a room. I was in the kitchen and I'm like, all right, I need to grab the trash can from the other room because we were throwing some stuff away. I walk into the other room. Why am I here? I look around. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I go back to the kitchen. I see the trash can spot empty. I'm like, son of a... I was going in to get the trash can. That's stupid. I forgot the trash can that time.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Terrible. I know they say you get... The big one is mommy brain, like baby brain and mommy brain, because that they actually have like the hormones affected, and that's actually a real thing.
Right.
I'm just mentally unstable. I have onset Alzheimer's over here, so yeah. So other than that, I think that's all the news we have, and I think we're ready to really get this show on the road. I'll confirm with you before I move on, like on the live show, and I messed that up.
We covered everything. We're ready to roll.
It all. Nice. All right, so let's do it. Let us move into our first official segment, the other sports. We're gonna get like music for that. We're gonna get transition music. I feel like that's what we really need. Some other sports transition stuff, and it's like MLB related, like a crack of a bat, like a slap of a hockey stick. I'm really, really looking for that. That's going to be, I feel like that'd be really cool. So if anyone's really good at like transition music like that, let us know and we'll probably hit you up if we need some help. We are not talented in that department. That is for sure. So the first thing that we have on the docket, I actually have one that I did not write down because I have not had time to put it on, but it's no big deal. It's nothing big. It won't take any longer than probably 2 minutes, but the big one is the NBA.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't get this at all.
Yeah.
This makes zero sense to me. The NBA is proposing a second bubble located in Chicago for the 8 non-playoff teams, which would be the Hawks, Cavaliers, Knicks, Hornets, Bulls, Pistons, Warriors, and Timberwolves. You're still working on the details, but basically it's a summer league. It's just for fun, I guess. Teams are continuing to push an alternative plan that would enable them to hold mini camps within their local markets and to explore the idea of establishing regional sites where teams could scrimmage against each other. Teams also want to see how Orlando plays out before agreeing to the Chicago idea. I just don't get it. I mean, what's your initial opinion?
I feel like it's odd that it's kind of like the participation trophy scenario here. Like, oh, sorry, you weren't good to be in the running for the playoffs, so go play basketball somewhere else. Like, we'll still let you play, but it doesn't count towards anything. You're basically just saying, hey, go play against some other NBA caliber players. That way you can get back in shape. So when the next season starts, we'll be in a better situation. So we're not having our guys all get hurt because they weren't practicing enough, or get rusty from playing, and then you get these giant blowout wins because you have teams that played in Orlando now playing teams that didn't play in Orlando. So now you could possibly be getting these giant blowout wins night in, night out because one team's super rested and rusty and the other team is still ready to go after playing in Orlando.
That's a good point. I honestly that wasn't really the viewpoint I took out of this. I didn't really think about all that, but that's a good point. So I guess it's a little bit of an argument for holding it.
Yeah.
Or at least the team. I do like the teams at least waiting until Orlando's done, and then they can do their own thing. They can hold their mini camps in the local markets and just meet with other teams and be like, hey, let's play. I kind of think of the Michael Jordan documentary when he was in Disney or something when they were shooting Space Jam, and players came to him to play on the court they had there that they had built. I kind of look at it like that. So let's do that. I think that's fine. Holding this 8-team bubble thing in Chicago is absolutely ridiculous because here's the number one thing that every league, at least right now, has been screaming, and all the leagues have been screaming for the past couple of years because it's becoming a very important topic is, say it with me, player safety. Yeah. They don't give a crap. If you're even considering bringing, just let these other 8 teams, let these people on these teams just stay home and quarantine or at least do whatever they want. Why drag them out of their homes away from their families to play for nothing? That's pointless. And I guarantee if they just went through with this, they were just like, yeah, all U8 teams show up in Chicago and let's have some fun. You are not getting a lot of people showing up. I'll call that right now. You have people not wanting to participate in the real NBA playoffs. You think you're going to be able to drag people out of their homes just to play for some stupid 8-team tournament NIT thing? They're not going to show up for that and risk their health and their family's health. Get out of here with that. I get what you're doing. And to your point, like they'll just be super rusted by next season. Sure, that makes sense. But let them do it on their own terms.
Oh, yeah.
Let what players want to show up to whatever mini camps they have or playing with other teams. Let them decide. Don't make some stupid mandatory 8 playoff team thing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the mini camp scenario that the teams are trying to push as an alternative, I think is a more likely opportunity. And I was just looking at the teams here. Like the only team that's really not anywhere near anyone is the Warriors. Like Hawks and Hornets, Atlanta, Charlotte, those are close. You have the Bulls, Pistons, Timberwolves.
I feel like the Timberwolves are good. Are they not good? Like obviously they're not good, but I feel like they have players, don't they? Don't they have Cat on that team?
I feel like they're. Last I knew, they were on the younger side, so like they were still growing as a team again.
Okay. Like the Hawks were good for like one season, and then they just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, I think I think when the Hawks were decent and made a run in the playoffs, like I want to say the player who was on there, I can't remember his name now, but he like went somewhere else to play. And I was like, yep, see you later.
And that was the end of that.
Right.
This is why we do the other sports, because this is us talking about things that we don't really know about. So we can't sit here and be like, oh, yeah, this is the guy that left, and this is why they fell apart. And we can't do that. We can sit here and just say things. Like I believe Karl Anthony Towns is on the Timberwolves, if I'm not mistaken. I can't name any other players on the Timberwolves, but I know he's pretty good. Hey, everybody, it's Dylan from On and Off the Field with Derf and Dylan. We just have to take a quick commercial break for the RTF Sports Network. We will be right back. I mean, that's just I think.
I thought
but
he
you
was
are right. The Warriors are. Oh, is it? No, he's not the Nuggets. I know that. Yeah,
okay,
Nuggets
maybe
got.
it is the Timberwolves.
The Nuggets do have a guy Novik, Dragic Novik. Oh my gosh, we're just embarrassing ourselves at this point. I can see his face. He's a really good young player over there at the Nuggets. I know they have at least one guy. But again, like you said, the Warriors are the only thing they really got going over there. Mm-hmm. But again, player safety, even if the coronavirus isn't even a thing, like you really think Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are going to maybe get re-injured to play for some pointless playoff thing? It's just not going to. Players aren't just going. They're just not going to show up. Straight up,
right?
I mean, they're just not going to show up, and that's the bottom line, in my opinion. And I think it's smart that the teams have come out and said they want to see how Orlando plays out. That's a wise decision from the owners of those teams. Mm-hmm. We want to see if those players leave that bubble all infected. Does the infection breach the bubble somehow? Like someone goes out and parties when they weren't supposed to. They bring the virus back and everyone has it. That's something they want to see if it happens or not. So I applaud. I just got to say the NBA has handled everything with the virus very well.
Yeah.
From Adam Silver to now the owners. Mm-hmm. I think it's been handled very professionally.
The fact that they closed down or they stopped the game halfway through, like, nope, we're done. Back in March 11th, I think it was. Like, they put a sharp end to everything, and then now they've had all these months to plan to come back, and now we're so close to see everything like go into place and see this plan take action. But yeah, they've done a really good job with this whole situation, and just the fact that they were like, yeah, if you're not comfortable, like, we're okay if you don't play this summer, like, we're not going to penalize you, like, it's your decision, but we encourage you come.
Right. And I believe it was the NBA that, although we are looking for it to return, things are kind of coming into place. Mm-hmm. I got the notification that more people are starting to test positive. I think they're up to 25 positive players that would be heading to Orlando.
Yep, I think I did see that too, yeah.
But, I don't think they're supposed to show up until the end of July. They'll probably be clear of the virus by then. It's normally a 2-week thing as long as it's not a serious case.
Right.
But that is everything we have for the other sports. And I think we are ready to move on to our next segment.
Yeah.
NFL news. Stuff that we actually can talk about because we know a little bit more about NFL than anything else. So let's see what's first up on the docket. Something similar that the NFL is doing with the NBA is also sort of allowing this. They're not allowed to do names in the NBA, but they're able to put different social justice things on their jerseys and replace their names with like BLM, something like that.
Okay, yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, I think that was a couple days ago. I think I saw that. But the NFL has decided that they're going to allow players to wear helmet decals and jersey patches and to recognize those impacted by systematic racism and police brutality throughout the 2020 season. Example, they can have a GF decal on their helmet for George Floyd. This could be an individual person that wants to do this. This could be a team thing. It is completely up to the organization of what they will allow. Mm-hmm. And then along with that, the NFL, for all the week 1 games, before the national anthem plays, the Star Spangled Banner national anthem, they're going to be playing Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is known as the Black National Anthem. It will be played week 1. So, interesting move by the NFL there, especially with the national anthem thing. I think the more interesting thing to watch with that will be what are the players going to do. Well, I think we know what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. But during the Black National Anthem, do you really think to make a bigger stance during that? They'll just stand during it, and then once the national anthem plays, they start taking a knee and they kind of switch over when that plays. Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Well, we got 70 days, I think, until kickoff. So
Is it really only 70 days?
yeah, it's so close.
Oh,
I think it's only 70 days until September 10th,
oh my God.
which is the Chiefs and Texans if no one knew.
The Chiefs and Texans. I think we went over that. We talked about that in detail in the schedule release episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the old playoff game up 28-0. Big oof. So that'd be a good redemption story, but I don't think they're going to get any redemption in that game with the Texans. If anything, the Chiefs will be up 28-0 in the first quarter, first half.
Yeah.
The Texans are looking not good, I think is the word I want there.
Yeah.
They lose their biggest weapon. All of their wide receivers are injury prone. They have an injury prone running back. They have an injury prone defense. Everyone always talks about how the Eagles are the most injury prone team. I think people forget the Texans exist sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You could say that Texans are the AFC team that are the most injury prone, and the Eagles are the NFC team with most injury prone. See? One on each side. Perfect.
Every conference gets an injured team.
There you go.
Back to the decals, though. Yeah, way off topic there. I don't even know how that happened. How did we even get there? That was a mess. Yeah, so the decals, it'll be interesting. It's going to be obviously its own really main storytelling segment, and I'm sure the NFL will do a good job in interviewing the players about if they do a decal or if a team does a decal as a whole. Whatever they end up doing, they'll be covering it very well. So I think we'll cover it here too. If they do a team-wide thing, something that's obvious, a star player, I'm sure Patrick Mahomes has kind of been leading the way in the NFL with social justice, which is great because he's the face of the NFL right now. I know a lot of people like Lamar Jackson, MVP, all that good stuff, but Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl winner, amazing kid, great kid, just personality-wise and morally, I believe. Just he puts ketchup on steak, but other than that, he's a great kid. And he's really been kind of leading the way, so I can't wait to see what he does if he starts really becoming a vocal person during the season on this.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how these helmet decals or jersey patches kind of correlate with the my cause, my cleats.
Yeah,
that the NFL does. Like you get these custom designed cleats, and it's usually like something that the individual player usually does, like as a charity or like something in the community or just something personal to them. I'm curious to see how much of that changes with them now being able to do the helmet decals I'm assuming on the back, or the jersey patches for all of this.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've always been an advocate for it, and probably waters down the market value if you do it. But I've always wondered why my cause, my cleats isn't a year-round thing, like every game. You know, every player doesn't have to participate every week in my cause, my cleats, because I know you have to get them custom made. And, it's a lot of money for some players, or it's a lot of effort to do that. But I'm sure a lot would participate for sure, week in and week out. Like someone like OBJ, I'm sure would love to do that. But I think this would be a cool way to kind of intertwine my cause, my cleats, because if you still only want to do that 1 week out of the year, you can you can have the, Black Lives Matter special made jersey worn by Patrick Mahomes and auction that off, and that money can go towards police reform, or if you want to put it towards like the family of George Floyd or anything like that, you can auction that stuff off for a good cause. And that's how you make real change. I know, money doesn't fix everything, but money also talks. And if you're auctioning off at least 1, 2, 5 jerseys, per team, that's a lot of money that can go towards things in those specific cities. So especially, Minnesota right now. I think, is it Minneapolis? Is it Minnesota, right? That's like the same state. Or am I being stupid?
Minneapolis is the city. Minnesota is the state.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. I'm not joking, folks. This brain is, you're lucky I'm even here. I'm comprehensive.
It's a good thing the geography major's here.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, so if the Minnesota Vikings want to do a bunch of George Floyd stuff or Black Lives Matter jerseys, all that money can go towards police reform for a city that is kind of the epicenter of this entire movement right now, at least in 2020. So I think that's a great thing that could be done if they want to push that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, take a quick little break here for a station identification. You are listening to the RTF Sports Network internet radio station with On and Off the Field with Derf and Dylan.
Do you have that written down somewhere?
No, it was literally rolling off the tongue.
Wow. That's great. I got to get that written down because I'll never remember. I told myself I was going to write it down before. I just never have.
I just look at the clock, and then if we're in between a segment and we're right there, I'm just going to take a pause. And
that's great. It's like almost halfway through the show, like perfectly.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. So, still in NFL news, the NFL did announce it wants to reduce the preseason to only 2 games this year, but it has not officially been approved by the NFLPA to go to 2 games. The NFLPA, I feel like there has to be a middle ground here, but I guess I'll just finish the actual news here before I get to my opinion. The NFLPA says there should be no preseason games to reduce the risk of added exposure for the games that have no consequence in the league standings. The NFLPA's perspective referring to COVID-19 is that they want as much time as possible before the season starts to get this thing under control and understand it as much as they possibly can. I think the NFL was being fair with 2 games.
Yep.
I know the preseason's boring. I know it has no standing things, but you have to have it. And not only for people that are going to be kicked off the roster. Obviously, that's important. It depends on the roster sizes entering the season. It might not be as important because I know I've heard anything from like 70 to 80 players could be on a roster. So you only have to cut anywhere from 10 to 20. That could be pretty easy at the end of the day. But you don't want to enter the season. How many people get injured in preseason games? Quite a few.
Yeah, quite a few, yeah.
And I know it's not games that you get hurt in that don't count, but you're getting hurt in week 1 of the regular season, or would you rather get hurt and have time to recover to be ready for week 1 of the NFL season back in like the first preseason game? It depends on the type of injury, of course. Like obviously that's going to matter a lot, but let's say you sprain something, instead of losing 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season, you just sit out the rest of preseason and you're ready to go week 1 of the regular season. You need these games for conditioning. That's basically what I'm saying. I had to beat around the bush there a little bit because this brain is hurting. I'm sorry, folks. But my point is you need it for conditioning. I realize that's probably the more important aspect of this instead of roster cuts. You have to play at full speed against another team at some point before the regular season, because the regular season, if you're not ready to go, the team might not be ready as a whole. If it's a new defense, new offense, or you're just coming back, you just got to be ready to roll. This is what the preseason's for. And if you take it all away, I feel like week 1 is going to look kind of ugly, both in the level of play and injuries.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the big thing with the conditioning and that roster size is seeing your players against someone other than your own team. Like, you need them to see how are they going to play at full speed? Are they going to be conditioned enough to play the full season if it ever so happen for someone like a second string or third string cornerback? Like, are they going to be able to withstand the entire season if our star corner goes down? I think that's the biggest thing, and I think that's why you need the 2 games. Like, you need to see full speed play because you obviously don't want your team full speed at each other. Like that's
a bad idea.
That's a really bad idea.
Yeah. Hey, just one more commercial break for the RTF Sports Network here with On and Off the Field with Derf and Dylan. Enjoy the rest of the episode commercial free.
And only with full speed against other teams are you really going to be able to make the correct conscious decision to trim your roster down. Like, I get why you want more time before the season starts, because like if something happens, you can try and correct it, or if you have to shift the schedule around for some reason, I get it. But at the same time, you still need these warm-up games. Like the MLB has spring training, the NBA has summer league. Like they have these preseason type games because you need your players to be up to speed when the season starts.
Yeah, it's really about because you might say, hey, let's play full speed in practice. But guess what? You're in practice. You're not being completely held down by your teammate that's a corner. If you're the wide receiver, you're playing a little off. You got to have that real competition feeling flowing through your blood a little bit. Whether, if first team's on the field for one drive, guess what? Now you know what football feels like again. Now you can go back to the bench. You're good to go. It's just a matter of feeling that again. You haven't felt it really full pads, full speed against another team for an entire year. So it's important to have those games. So I'm in favor of having 2 preseason games forever, personally.
Sounds good to me.
I think 4 is excessive. I will agree with that.
It is a little excessive because you could probably make good roster cuts in 2 games.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like week 3 is basically the dress rehearsal for the starting sides, which they only play like maybe the first quarter tops.
Yeah.
And then week
Some
4
teams might push that third game to like a full half.
Right.
Still, yeah. That's the one they play the most in.
Yeah. And then like week 4 is just the third strings and whoever's trying to make a practice squad spot. Yeah. It's just a terrible game. Like, we don't need that. Like, give us better games in the preseason.
I love football, and I do watch preseason games. But when that 4th game comes on, I just can't.
It's
a struggle to get through a half. Even with my own team, with the Seahawks, by the 4th quarter, they're throwing guys out there. I don't even know who they are. It's not good football. It is. No. And sometimes people make a name for themselves in those kinds of games. They get that platform to try something. But if you're playing in the 4th quarter of the 4th preseason game, most likely the decision's already been made because that tells you what they think about you. Sorry to break it to you, but that's not a good spot to be playing in. Well, we got one last piece of NFL news. And this is a little bit social justice movement. FedEx, the Washington Redskins play at FedEx Field. FedEx has requested that the Washington Redskins change their nickname after protesters were targeting the team's sponsor to sever ties with the team unless they change their controversial name. FedEx, Nike, PepsiCo, Pepsi.
Yeah.
Pepsi Company, PepsiCo. That's the official name for those who are interested. Each received letters signed by 87 investment firms and shareholders worth a combined $620 billion. Ooh, that'll put a little pressure on you. Dan Snyder's under immense pressure to change the name of the Redskins now, and the Redskins have had their name since 1933. I kind of had this discussion with my parents when they were here, or at least my dad. Yeah, sure, they've had their name since 1933. And back then, probably no one cared because there wasn't a whole lot of social justice going on back then. There wasn't social media to put a lot of pressure on you 24/7. But guess what? It's 2020 now. People are very conscious of things that are perceived as, and that's the important part, perceived as, racial slurs or just offensive in general. Some people might not perceive it. If I sit here or someone like back from my hometown of Pulaski in the country doesn't see Redskins as offensive, but guess what? I bet you down at the Native American, the Indian reservations, I bet you some of them are probably offended. They perceive it as offensive. Just because you don't see it as offensive, other people might.
Yeah.
And welcome to the world of 2020 with social media. You have to be more conscious of this, and it's just a name. That's my end point here. Is it's just a name. It was okay back then. It's not okay now. Guess what? Super easy. We're now the Washington Sentinels. I like that one. We were talking about it the other week.
Yeah.
It's just that easy. It is. It's super. They've already taken down a statue, I think, in front of FedEx Field, and they also removed one of the names from their Ring of Honor. And I think the granddaughter of that person came out and said, "Yeah, that's a good move."
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've already made a couple changes. They are aware of what's going on, but now it's time to drop the big ball here. Let's get rid of the main piece, which is the name.
Yeah. I mean, this battle's been going on for years, and I think
2014
was probably the last real big push the Redskins had against them changing their name. And I think just 2020 in general is the year of change for so much. Like we made it to the 20s, and we're gonna roar. Like we're gonna have the roaring 20s. The 20s,
the roaring 20s of getting rid of racism. We're roaring about racism. Let's get rid of it finally. That's a good thing to roar about. I do kind of want the roaring 20s of just the parties back, but I'll take this too. This is good.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, they're not getting rid of alcohol, so that's always good.
Oh, thank God. That would be awful. What are you drinking over there again? You got something from Ami Gang?
Yeah, Neon Rainbows from Ami Gang.
Got that hat right here.
Not too bad, yeah. Little 6.7% hazy IPA. Pretty tasty.
What's the IBU in that? Does it say? It's got to say.
I do not see it here. Just says 1 pint, serve at 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
All right, you keep looking for that because I'm interested. Hazy IPAs are usually maybe 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
But I don't want to call myself a beer snob.
I got nothing.
I just like my beer. All right, we can Google it later maybe.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know. But yeah, and the last point I kind of want to make on the names, the nicknames of teams. Obviously, we still have the Cleveland Indians. We have the Blackhawks, which I don't know if there's been a lot of hatred on that, but it's still there. You have the Chicago Blackhawks for hockey. You have the Florida, the college team, Florida State, I believe. They have the Indian as their logo. But it's and they have, even for Florida State, I believe they're the ones that have the Indian ride out on a horse and they throw a spear into the ground. I don't know if people really see that as offensive or as like a power thing, but either way, I don't know. For me, it looks kind of cool, but I could easily see how someone would perceive that as, offensive. But they all need to change.
Yep. Yeah.
You just don't need it. Just because the name's been there since 1933 still doesn't make it not offensive to some people.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely.
Times are a-changing, folks. Jump on the train or get left behind, because Dan Snyder and the Redskins might be out a couple $2 billion if FedEx pulls out of there. But I think that's all we have for NFL news. It has been kind of a slow week for news. A lot of opinion-based things. We can sit here and give you our opinions on everything. We can go back to Cam Newton if you want, but you just go back to our live show that we held on Tuesday. That's now available on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. All links at onandoffthefield.com. And you can check that out and get our opinions on Cam Newton to the Patriots. But we got to get to our main segment here before we go off of too many side trains here. I just have so much to talk about. Yeah. Whenever we upgrade this to a 2-hour show, we'll talk about all this in detail. But our main segment is something I've been dying to do all week. We get to go through Chris Sims' top 40 quarterback list. And let me tell you, this thing is a doozy.
Yeah, a giant old dumpster fire.
And Chris Sims is an enemy of the show. If you've been listening to us for a while, you know that this guy is just because he came out with the fake news about Dak Prescott getting offered and turning down the $40 million deal, which did not, or $45 million, whatever the deal was. He turned down
like that, yeah.
It turned out a very hefty contract, and that was never offered. So it was just fake news. He just said it, and it was just not real. So he became an enemy of the show officially that day, and then the rest of his idiocy is just making him deeper on that list. So virtually comes out with this, and first off, me and Derf already have a little bit of a disagreement, I think. What's your viewpoint on rookies before I say mine being on this list?
Being on this list, they shouldn't be there.
So you just think rookies just shouldn't be there in total?
No, they haven't played in the NFL. Like, they're playing in college. Your college skills don't transfer over to the NFL every time. You can't assume that a college player playing in a top elite status in college is going to be better than a veteran in the NFL.
And that's
it doesn't
fair.
work.
And I get that point. I'm fine with that point. I will live with that point. And I will not completely disagree, but there's 40 slots, and I think it's fair if you want to put Joe Burrow or maybe Tua or some of these higher named, bigger talents coming out of college, and about 34 or below. If you want to say Joe Burrow is better than some kind of backup, whatever backup might be out there, I don't care if you put him at 38 above. I don't even know off the top of my head. I got to look real quick. Taysom Hill. Let's go there. That's a great spot. If you want to say that Joe Burrow is better than Taysom Hill, go for it. I will listen to that. I won't love it, but I'll listen to it. But we'll just start hitting this list here so I can, get these examples out of the way instead of just trying to talk about my point. So we'll do it kind of like we'll do like 5 at a time here. Number 40 is Tua Tagovailoa. I think I actually said that right.
Yeah.
39 is Dwayne Haskins. 38 is Mitchell Trubisky. 37 is Justin Herbert. 36 is Taysom Hill. And 35 is Jared Stidham. That's 6 players. But yeah, Stidham at 35, Taysom Hill at 36. It's hard to rate players that are this bad because you say rookies don't belong on this list. Taysom Hill doesn't belong on this list. Straight up.
Well, yeah, there's three Saints quarterbacks on that list. There should not be.
I will be fine with Jameis Winston being on this list somewhere.
Yeah, I think
in a backup spot.
Right, and I feel like top tier quarterbacks, like your starters, and then kind of like your higher profile backups should be on this list because these are backups that used to be starters, but recently just took the backup role to continue playing in the NFL. I think those should be on the list, and that's where I was kind of thinking when I saw the list. Like, the list should really only, if you're not including rookies, it should be really in that 34, 35 player range, because I think that couple extra other than the one per team is those high profile backups. Yeah,
the best backups. I think it's kind of disrespectful on here because if you want to talk about high level backups, is like Andy Dalton's not on this list. I don't believe.
Yeah,
is he?
Right,
he is there. Okay. All right, that was about to freak me out because I was looking on here trying to find it and I couldn't find it. Okay, that's fine then. That's good. Freaked me out a little bit, but so we can start talking about who shouldn't be where and who should be above who. The next couple are Tyrod Taylor at 34, Jameis Winston at 33, Case Keenum at 32, Nick Foles at 31, and Gardner Minshew at 30. So we already said it. Jameis Winston's in a good spot, but Taysom Hill just straight up shouldn't be at 36. Tyrod Taylor could be a little higher. Case Keenum has not been relevant for a while. I don't think he should be in the top 32.
No.
I think because Tyrod Taylor is basically the starter right now. So he's obviously better than Case Keenum at some level. So I would at least flip Tyrod and put him maybe at 30 above Minshew and Foles. All hail the Jockstrap King, but you got to knock him down a little bit. Tyrod's been in playoff games. He's shown that he can be a safe player to put at the starting quarterback position. So what do you think about at least that list so far?
Oh, well, I kind of agree there. I think he moved Tyrod up to 30, bumped Minshew down to 31, and I think Nick Foles 32. But then, yeah, the rest of the list is just a wash, kind of. Like, you get your couple backups. Right. Case Keenum, just like you said, he just hasn't played well since his days in Minnesota. It just has not translated. Washington, he was a mess. And he's now in Cleveland, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that is the correct team. He's backing up Baker right now for like $1.5 million.
But yeah.
Here's where things get. This is like my first big, huge complaint. Teddy Bridgewater at 29, Ryan Fitzpatrick at 28, Andy Dalton at 27, Joe freaking Burrow at 26, and then Drew Lock at 25. Boy, you gonna get my blood boiling when you put a rookie who hasn't played a snap at 26. Ooh, that's not okay. That's my second major complaint. My first major complaint is Teddy Bridgewater, who went 5-0 when Drew Brees went down as a starter in New Orleans this past season. You put him behind Andy Dalton and Ryan Fitzpatrick and a rookie who hasn't played a snap, and Drew Lock, who we'll get to in a minute there. I think I said Drew Lock, actually. Drew Lock, who has proved nothing except maybe he has some potential. It's infuriating. And some of these other guys are about to list off. He went 5-0. And one of those teams was the Seahawks. He played good teams. 29 for Teddy Bridgewater, 26 for Joe Burrow. God, I hate that.
That's a bold statement because he's basically saying Joe Burrow is better than 6 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Not yet.
No, not at all. The next ones we got Jared Goff at 24, Sam Darnold at 23, Daniel Jones at 22, Baker Mayfield at 21, and then really the only one I really hate here is Jimmy Garoppolo at 20. I realize people air their grievances about Jimmy Garoppolo. He hasn't showed up a lot in huge moments like the Super Bowl. We saw a couple of missed throws late in the game. There was a couple of hiccups in the games against the Seahawks. I watched those obviously in full. He had a couple of bad throws in there. But 20? We're about to list off some of these other people, and 20 is not fair for a guy who was just in the Super Bowl.
Well, maybe this is partially... Maybe Chris Sims talked to our boy Danny over there.
Yeah, that was an inside scoop with Danny
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, straight trash, garbage, overrated hack. Yeah. I'm sure Lamantia. I'm sure he loved that. He looked at this and that's a perfect spot for him. Yeah, 20, put him lower. Between Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, I'm fine with them over there. Honestly, that's the only part of this list I'm pretty okay with.
Yeah.
They could be a little bit lower if you bump up Teddy, obviously. But that's really the only one, so I'm fine with that. The next up is Derek Carr at 19, Josh Allen at 18, Phillip Rivers at 17, Drew Brees at 16, Tom Brady at 15. Now, you might think that's a little low, and it is. And it's kind of tough if you're not looking at it, because you look at some of the names above them, and makes you wonder. They're grouping together the old people, because I'll just say at number 14 is Ben Roethlisberger. If you think Big Ben is better than Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Phillip Rivers, I got bad news for you. Because Big Ben literally threw a football and broke his arm. So I got bad news for you. Ben Roethlisberger is not better than Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. And probably not even Josh Allen at this point. He's an old fat guy who can't stay healthy to save his life. Yeah. Josh Allen is a young athletic kid. He might have some accuracy issues, but he is still a very good quarterback. Josh Allen does not deserve to be at 18. I would swap Josh Allen and Ben Roethlisberger. Is that too high for Josh Allen at 14 above Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers?
Well, I want to say no, but I also don't want to be like super fanboy here and be like, yeah, he's the best quarterback ever. Like, he's good, but he still has room to grow. And like that's why I'm looking forward to the season. Like I just want to see it. This year 3 push is going to be the big thing.
Yeah.
And I like him above Derek Carr because I think Derek Carr has issues, and that's where you're going to see Mariota kind of take that next step towards the Raiders, which I don't think he's on the list either.
No, he's not, but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that personally.
Yeah.
I think he could be a high-level backup if you took a rookie off this list. Like if you take Taysom Hill off the list, replace him with Mariota, I'll listen to that. I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I think Derek Carr is too high. If that's another complaint, maybe Baker Mayfield could replace Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr basically belongs on the downside of 20, somewhere over there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything out of him to really say, yeah, he's a top 20 quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably be benched this season at some point to at least give Mariota a chance, is what I see coming.
Yeah.
Oh, so I said Ben Roethlisberger at 14. Kirk D. Cousins at number 13. Kyler Murray at 12. Ryan Tannehill. What? Ryan Tannehill at 11. Cam Newton at 10. That's 5 right there. All right. Take a break.
Hold on. Pump the brakes.
That is probably my least favorite part of this list.
Yeah, that's just weird.
Cam Newton didn't have a job up until a couple of days ago.
And he's saying he's a top 10 quarterback? No.
Top 10 quarterback, and he didn't even have a job. And now he has a job, and he's going to be he has a $500,000 contract guaranteed that has a lot of incentives, but you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a backup to Jarrett Stidham, who is your number 35 quarterback. I mean, you don't have to really say much more than that. I mean, that's just stupid. Cam Newton does belong on this list, but nowhere near the top 10.
No.
You don't even know if he's healthy. And after his Super Bowl season, he was never the same. His numbers alone. If you want to forget the fact that he didn't play the last season there because of his injuries, if you just look at his last couple of years and his numbers, they were not good.
No,
they were not top 10. They just straight up weren't. Matt Stafford at 9, I think, is actually too low. I'm a big fan of Matt Stafford. Just a lot of injuries. He has a great arm, but I can see why he's at 9. I would listen to it. I will not listen to Dak Prescott at 8. I think Dak could be dropped probably to 10, maybe a little bit outside of the top 10.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just going up the list. I forgot these people. Kirk Cousins could probably drop way down, somewhere between 18 and 20.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would replace Cousins or maybe even Tannehill with Jimmy Garoppolo. Put one of them at 20, and then let's put Kirk Cousins at 20, Kyler Murray at 19, put Jimmy G up at 13 or 12.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see instead.
I like it.
Oh, we see here. Matt Stafford at 9, Dak Prescott at 8, Matt Ryan at 7. Matt Ryan is a good talent, but we just haven't seen anything out of that team. So I think that's okay. Right. I'm okay with that. Carson Wentz at 6. Get that.
Nope.
Just walk away. Just stop making lists. Carson Wentz at number 6. The dude can't even complete a season. I'm starting to get mentally exhausted. Yes, rereading this in detail is just blood is boiling. Carson Wentz might be a talented person, but guess what? Can't stay healthy. You fall on the list. I don't know if this is just a list based off of possible talent. I think that might be what this is.
That's a terrible idea.
It's not a good list. The top 5: Lamar Jackson at 5, Deshaun Watson at 4, Aaron Rodgers at 3, Russell Wilson at 2, Patrick Mahomes number 1. What's your biggest complaint about the top 5?
I would slide Rodgers to 5 and then, or basically flip Rodgers with Jackson.
Okay.
I think Lamar Jackson's a little better than Deshaun Watson. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Lamar Jackson, I still think he has a little bit better talent than Watson does. But I like 1 and 2 for sure.
I think I would just I like Aaron Rodgers still. I think he still makes a lot of good throws. He beat up the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs with a lot of great daggers. So I kind of do the same thing as you. I'll just put Lamar Jackson at 3, although I'm kind of with you. I'm not a huge fan of his passing game, but he's a good talent. And obviously he made it to the playoffs and had a great regular season. I'll put him at 3, Aaron Rodgers at 4, Watson at 5.
Okay, I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad decision there.
That is that's that list, and it's absolutely atrocious. So thank you for Chris Sims for giving us that glorious garbage.
But he got 1 and 2 right though. Like obviously Patrick Mahomes is number 1, so
yeah, sorry.
He got part of the list correct. The rest of it is just trash.
Anything outside of 1 and 2 is basically pure garbage. Joe Burrow's at 26. Ryan Tannehill is at 11. Stop.
That's as bad.
Ryan Tannehill threw like 86 yards in a playoff game. Get out of here. Absolutely. Chris Sims. Enemy of the show, Chris Sims, everybody. Clap, clap, clap. But that is all the time we have for this episode of On and Off the Field. Thank you for tuning in, as always. And make sure you go to onoffthefield.com, get all those links. Make sure you rate and review the show on iTunes. You can always get in contact with us. Slide into our DMs. We absolutely love it. And as we walk away, number 30 on the list.
All hail the Jockstrap King.